before Whitmore does, but Whitmore will do it on the exit of the corner here. Accelerate past by the time they get into the Jim Clark. Yes, it's a great battle here for the lead of this motor race. They're going to lap Steve Cheetham soon, so that's to put him one lap down. He's in 4th position overall, but he still leads Class B by over a minute over Brett Evans. And then in 3rd position in that class is Joe Gordon. In Class C, it's Imran Khan and Andrew Lightstead's BMW leading over Tom Rogers and John Griffiths. 3rd in that class is James and Darren Kell. Here the 2 leaders are on your screens. Haven't quite lapped Steve Cheetham yet as they turn their way into the complex. And they turn their way through here with the wipers on now. With this rain coming down only very lightly at this stage of proceeding, not affecting the lap time. At least on the previous lap, they're going to have to pass Steve Cheetham now, making their way down towards the Clairvaux corner. Andy Marston can do that with accelerating past 60 laps done, just 1 second between the pair of them. So super competitive this is between the pair, and that was a bit of an issue there for David Whitmore as he looked up the inside of Steve Cheetham, who wanted to take his line, rightly so. So it just meant that Whitmore had to back out of it, and that's going to allow the leader, Andy Marston, just to stretch his legs a touch. And that Porsche is not certainly off the corner. It's very quick indeed as they pass the camera there going down towards Tower, and Cheetham later on the brakes than David Whitmore, who just passed him. So the lighter Porsche quicker than actually these Class A BMWs through the corners. But of course the BMW is much more powerful. They're out to lap Ivor Mears now as they head off down towards Barcroft and in towards the sunny in and sunny out. But I noticed Micah Brown there in 3rd place goes across the line. He's got under 50 seconds now. That was over a minute, well over a minute earlier on. So Micah Brown in his M4 continues to chase down the 2 leaders. The lapping cars that are being shown the blue flags, they're still in the same order as they come into the complex. In the pit lane there, though, we can see the Gardner, Huxley and Smith car being refueled. That was a car that was on fire on the 2nd lap of the race, so good to see that got back out there and looks to score some points within Class A. But here they come, the leaders, out of the hairpin on your screen. 75 minutes of this race to go, Ian, and it couldn't be much closer between the top 2.
Just lapping the Fiesta ST150, one of the Class C cars there. Kevin Glover and Henry Wright into the pits again. Comes the former Class B lead. That's the number 95 car, which is now well down, having served a 5-minute penalty early on in the race. That's Luke Schlevitz, Andy Bailey. I think it's Andy Bailey at the wheel of that car, possibly about to get into that car maybe. So just looking on screens, the Rob Baker car there, 13th position overall now.
We also had a question mark whether Darren Ball had made 2 pit stops, didn't we, when there was the latest safety car period. He's there in 8th overall. That might be one for Andy, if Andy can hear us. One for him to find out from the Rutec guys whether Darren Ball has made 2 stops yet or not.
And I can see one of the roaches there on the pit wall from the Rutec International Racing Team. So he's looking studiously on at the pit stop going on for Bailey and Schlevitz at the moment.
2 leaders are right together now. It was a 1.5 seconds at the beginning of the lap, but David Whitmore is right underneath the rear wing of Andy Marston, who's flashing his lights at the Piercy's BMW, the Class C car. The 2 of them go up the inside of them, and a bit wider therefore is Marston, but he can gather that together for the right-handed element of the corner. So the Autobahn car continues to lead the way up into the left-hander now, the hairpin that completes the lap here at Croft with 72 minutes to go. And I guess these 2 cars might be starting to run lower on fuel now, heading towards perhaps the 2nd pit stop of the race. I think these cars pitted about half an hour into the race, didn't they, under the safety car?
They did. They are both going to need to stop again, of course, so it could be that this race, although it's very close on the racetrack at the minute, is decided in the pits, although it's they'll both have a mandatory 3-minute pit stop. There's also always that subtlety of how quickly you can get in and out of the pit lane as well. It's happening under a safety car, all kinds of random factors, but look how close they are now as they head down the straight towards Tower, and it's still David Whitmore almost getting alongside Andy Marston going down in towards Tower corner that time, but there's actually a couple of car lengths behind him. So very close battle for the lead of the space. These 2 cars which look absolutely brilliant, don't they? Having a really good battle. And
in 3rd place across the line now, Micah Brown is less than 45 seconds behind. So he's caught the best part of half a lap in this stint to these 2 cars up ahead. So
well, he's lapping consistently in the 131s. He's been doing that quite a lot. Marston at that time 134, Whitmore 133 that time through. So he's making up 2-3 seconds on every lap. So that's good going.
Absolutely is. The leaders, they're about to lap the Highland and Ingram Janetta G40 into the complex here. The G40 though, look, he's quicker through this part of the circuit, much lighter car, much more nimble than the two big BMW. Probably the Janetta's almost half the weight, isn't it, of those BMWs, so quicker through the complex here, but they will absolutely blast past it down towards Clairvaux. They'll also have to lap the Class C leader shortly, who's just ahead, and that is Imran Khan in Andrew Lightstead's BMW 330. Here come the top two then. They've completed 63 laps. There's 4/10 of a second between them. Before they get to Imran Khan, they've got to lap Graham Kelly's BMW, who's there within the top 20 overall as well. Up towards the chicane, and it gets very tight there as they can't get past Kelly's BMW. They will do so on the run down towards Tower. Marston jinxed right in his slipstream is David Whitmore. Now are they going to outbrake Imran Khan, who stays to the left-hand side of the circuit to let them through, I think, but
he can't get through.
Absolutely, the big BMWs happen to be stopped there. The M4s at the end of the straight, up towards the Jim Clark S's. There's about half a second between the top two. Great racing here in the 750 Motor Club Enduro Championship. Where can David Whitmore find a way through?
Well, it's interesting. In contrast to how close it is in Class A, I think both our Class B and Class C leads, so Steve Whitmore in Class B and Imran Khan, who we just saw in Class C, that's the number 79 car in 8th position, both have a gap of about a minute or so, more than a minute in fact, to the next car within their classes. So it's the Class A is the exception at the minute. It looks still very close as they came into the complex that time, and Whitmore's almost going to get alongside Andy Marston this time. They've got that Brett Evans Mini just ahead, former teammate of Andy Marston when they raced together, indeed won the Anglesey 3 Hours together a couple of years ago. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes into play here. Well, no, it doesn't, because he comes straight into the pit lane. I'm just getting out of the way, out of this battle altogether. He comes into the pits. So Andy Marston and David Whitmore then separated by 4/10 of a second as they went across the line that time.
Just lapping the James and Darren Kell MX-5, that's third in Class C. Looks like the rain's a bit heavier down there at Clairvaux into Hawthorne. Spots of rain on the camera lens, but the lap time still in the 35s, where, well, Micah Brown's in the 31s. Marston a bit slower through the chicane there as they try to lap the number 19 MR2 of Harrison Buckland and Barnes. So once again, David Whitmore right in the slipstream, heading up towards Tower Corner, but he can't go through. No, just 1/3 of a second then between these two BMW M4s as they make their way down towards the Jim Clark S's now. So let's see what happens on the run into here. No, Marston holding on ahead of up on the curbs. David Whitmore, who's in second position. The wipers on still, so the conditions still tricky. Micah Brown's brought the gap down to 42 seconds now, so they continue to catch through the complex. Come the leaders and diving up the inside, attempts the number 33 car of David Whitmore in these tricky conditions, but Whitmore again can't find a way through, so they accelerate up towards Clairvaux, and actually a better run that time from Marston. I mean, even though the rain's coming down, the lap times are still decent. 33s and 34s they're doing, so that is fine for Marston and for Whitmore there in first and second place. In third position still is Micah Brown. Up to fourth overall now is Will Ashmore and Robert Taylor, because they've got past Steve Cheetham on that lap, but they are almost overlapping the top two this time, heading up towards Tower Corner. But again, Whitmore can't quite get alongside, but maybe in the braking zone he looks up the inside of Andy Marston, but no, Marston holds on, but he runs a bit wide, he's sideways. This time David Whitmore is certainly alongside on the run up towards the Jim Clark S's. The two of them are level, but Marston is just about hanging on.
Just being the operative word. Really, really close between those two, with an hour and 6 minutes of this race left to go. 7/10 was the gap at the start of the lap, but it's anything less than a second really as they during the course of the lap. Off the circuit there briefly was the number 50 BMW of Julie McBride and Jeff Steele, running in 16th position. That's just about to go another lap down, already 3 laps down. That's go 4 laps down on the leaders, who take slightly different lines into the complex that time. Up towards the hairpin they go. I think the rain continuing to come down, by the way, here at Croft. So we've got wipers going. We've got Julie McBride heading for pit lane. Leaders go across the line to complete their 66th lap. And there's still only a few tenths of a second, half a second exactly between them as they go on to lap 67 of the race. Still, those two battling over the overall and Class A lead. Steve Cheetham comfortably leading in Class B, and Imran Khan, number 79, 7th overall, comfortably leading in Class C as well.
Here are the leaders then, coming up to the end of the second hour, battling away as they have been for such a long period of this race. Remember, Whitmore had that penalty, then caught back up to Marston. He dives up the inside, this time into Tower Corner. Is he going to make it work? Marston tries to shut the door, he can't. David Whitmore goes through then to take the lead of the race. The TI Motorsport car that won at Donington Park leads again here at Croft.
Yes, so dramatic moment there. Could it be a decisive moment during the course of this race? I'm not sure, because there's still an hour or so to go. We've still got another round of pit stops for the leading contenders to go. Micah Brown there, 4th place as the sun comes out at Croft. 41 seconds now behind this leading battle. It's not impossible that he has a say in this race. And I noticed that for overall position, we've had that change to 4th, haven't we? And that Dashmore Taylor ahead of Steve Cheetham in his Class B leading Porsche Boxster.
Rob Baker's almost got the area motorsport car back into the top 10. Now, those dark clouds over there at Sunny, are they clouds that have bypassed the circuit, or are we about to get some heavy rain? Into the pits comes the 2nd place car in Class C for their second and final stop. That's John Griffiths and Tom Rogers. Through goes Whitmore then. He's 7 tenths ahead now of Andy Marston. So now the question is whether Marston can hold on, or if hold on to David Whitmore, or whether Whitmore can pull away, just like he caught him up earlier on. There's the pit stop then for the 2nd place car in Class C, the Renault Clio.
Yeah, that's the car of John Griffiths and Tom Rogers, the car that started right at the back of the grid after problems in qualifying. So, fuel going in. And with just over an hour left to go, I think we'll probably due another round of pit stops before too much longer. There we can see new fastest lap of the race for Micah Brown, a 1 minute 30.93. That's why his time has gone purple there. That is the best lap of the race. He's got another 2 tenths faster than he went earlier on in the race then, and that's got the lead down to now less than 40 seconds, 39.18 the gap to Andy Marston, 39.88 the gap to the leader. So
he's pretty much halved the gap to that top 2 in this stint, has Micah Brown. So, yes, very interesting. There are the top 2, with Whitmore with this slightly bigger margin now. He's got ahead of Andy Marston. Not huge though, for sure. I wonder if that's just the electric system on those cars, because it's the lights come on, flash on and off, don't they? The brake lights.
I think they do under heavy braking, don't they? I think that's what they're designed to do. They're just behind Darren Ball then, the man that's running in 6th position, but he's just ahead of them on the road. Not anymore, he's not, because they've both passed him on the way into Clervaux Court that time. There is our Class B leader, Steve Cheetham, going through, and actually he's got the car that was in 2nd place within that class just behind him on the road, but Brett Evans made his 2nd stop, didn't he? So he is now running in 16th position overall, and 1, 2, 3, 4th in class at the moment. 2nd
in Class B is Danny Hobson, who started that car, but at the wheel at the moment is Joe Vorden. And then 3rd in that class is Michael Downey, who's having a really strong race in his Porsche Boxster, up into 3rd in the class.
Off goes the number 73 car. That's Nick Dougal at the wheel of that one at the moment, isn't it? Having taken over from John Munro, the Mazda MX-5, the TWP racing car. Together we progress racing.
Class C continued to be led by Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan. 2nd now after this pit stop of the Clio, you can see on your screen. So 2nd in Class C is now Darren and James Kell. 3rd position is Steve Dolman and Paul Sheard. 4th is the Munro and Dougal car, who Ian just mentioned. And 5th in that class, Ben Highland and Phil Ingram. So front tyre change for that Renault Clio. So unable to go 3 hours on one set of front tyres. They do all the work around here, of course, in a front-wheel drive car. Another front-wheel drive car, that's a Class A car of Rob Baker and Cole Swift. It's Baker at the wheel at the moment. They're into the top 10 overall. They are 6th position in Class A, are Baker and Swift. They were 5th at Donington Park in the class last time. They were one of the many cars that had a problem there, though. Of course, had a problem here too with that incident, but didn't lose as much time as they may have done. So a result is still on here, and they've made those 2 stops. They're the leaders, just coming out of the chicane as we reach the 2/3 distance of this race. Still just a second between the top 2, and they continue to be closed in on by Micah Brown there in 3rd.
They do. The gap 37.5 seconds now from 2nd to 3rd, as we've got
the Robert Taylor Will Ashmore car is in for their 2nd stop. That's a Class A car that was in 4th position.
Also the 19 car is in as well. That's the car that's being shared 3 ways. Nathan Hammerson, Martin Buckland and John Barnes.
There is the Micah Brown BMW, the Jackpot racing car. In the past, the Browns very much affiliated with Aston Martin, but switched into this BMW at the end of last year, and certainly Micah Brown really enjoying it here today at Croft Circuit. Fastest laps, the only driver into the 130s and up in 3rd position. Haven't seen that car for a while. The M3 of Tom Collar, number 148, Tom Collar and Nick Selby. They've dropped 20 seconds. Obviously had a problem earlier in the race, but still running.
And it's still running with good lap times as well. The 134.7 that time through, a best of a 134.45, and that is the kind of pace that really we're only seeing from the very front runners. So had they been able to get a really consistent run together, they could have been fighting out certainly for top 6 places, you would think.
Personal best lap last time from Andy Marston, a 1 minute 31.7. So Andy Marston still on the tail of the leaders. More news down in the pit, so Andy McEwan.
Well, I'm down here with Thomas Rogers then. You got out to the number 12 Renault Clio. Finally, you were in it from the start. That was a busy stint.
It was, yeah. I'm knackered. It was plenty long enough. We were waiting for a safety car, but obviously it didn't come off. So, but no, I think we've done all right. So, I don't know where we are.
I think you were 2nd in class when you pitted.
Oh, were we?
I think so.
Happy days then. I'm happy with that. I've done my job. It's up to him now.
We've just seen you make a tyre change. Croft always used to be notorious for tyre wear, particularly on front-wheel drive cars. Is that still the case with the new surface?
Yeah, it's rough as anything still. So that eats him anyway on the front, especially after this sort of length of time. So yeah, hopefully we'll be all right on the next set, and see how we go.
Where does your car seem to have an advantage compared to the other cars in your class?
We're definitely down on top end speed. We are down the straights, but through braking zones and through corners, we seem to make it up there. But trying to get the drag on them down the straights is a bit of an ordeal. It is, but no, it's corners and braking zones really.
You've done your job now you've got to sit by the sidelines and watch. Is that better or worse than being out there?
It'll be better when I get a drink, and then I can sit on there and have a relax. So yeah.
We'll let you go.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, we saw there in the inset, the picture-in-picture, we saw one of the tyre stacks had been deranged and was sitting in the middle of the circuit. So not quite sure whereabouts on track that was. Down at Clairvaux, we think.
Yeah, you see the yellow flags there being waved.
Yes, we can, can't we?
I did notice that the Nick Dougal car had gone off again, but I wonder if that was just to avoid the tyres or whether that's how they got there. And that's a bit ominous, I suspect, for what may happen next.
Yeah, so you can see the green flags there in the background. That's sort of after that incident. Yeah, actually you can see the tyres as well now as I look out of the window, showing up against the yellow and green of the barriers here at Croft, which is preparing for its round of the British Touring Car, the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship here in 2 weeks' time. One of the big events of the season here at Croft, of course. The other one being the Retro and Classic weekend over the 3rd and 4th of August, where, as well as racing from the Historic Sports Car Club, they have display vehicles from pre-1979 and military vehicles as well. All kinds of things going on. Check out the Croft website if you are interested in future events here at the circuit. And now, as Josh predicted, we have a safety car going out once again. It's actually the first appearance of the safety car for quite some time, but it is nevertheless the 5th of the race.
I suspect the 3 M4s may make the use of this, mightn't they? The top 3 overall. The top 2 have gone through, though, I think, Whitmore and Marston, so they won't be able to come in this time. Lots of teams getting ready down there. So anybody that just made their stop unfortunately might lose out tactically here. And this is absolutely what Area Motorsport didn't want in the end, because they lost the laps.
Just looking at the times, actually Mika Brown has lost a few seconds actually in the last lap or two. It was under 40 seconds behind the leaders. That's gone back out again now.
He's coming round here. The Nick Dougal car comes in, so John Munro might be getting back into that. No, Mika Brown continues for now, doesn't he? The leader is behind the safety car, so that's been done quickly. So Luke Tedakowski may be getting ready. They're near us, aren't they, TI Motorsport? Yeah, they've all disappeared from the pit wall, so I suspect they're getting ready for a stop.
Yes, no one's yet dived into the pit lane since the safety car came out.
Except for that MX-5, the Dougal and Munro car.
Yeah.
Which was the question mark, whether they may have come into contact with those when I saw him go through the gravel, but it might have just been to avoid the tyre stack, of course.
Oh, no, I wonder if they'll use this safety car as an opportunity to move the Lance Gould, Alistair Gould as it now is, Porsche as well.
I see he's put his helmet back on as well, which suggests that he may well do that. But we can see the TI Motorsport team and Autobahn Motorsport are getting ready for their pit stops. They both pitted on the same lap last time, didn't they? A lot more fuel's got to go in this time, so they've got to make sure they can get this pit stop done in that 3 minute time. I see right in the middle of them is Will Ashmore and Robert Taylor, who had to pit just before that safety car period. So the safety car coming up towards the end of the line here. This is going to be we'll see if Darren Ball needed another stop, won't we? If he doesn't come in, that would say no, and he could, because he's only a lap back. He could very much come amongst this and be a factor in the race. He's only just a lap. Oh, that'd be 2 laps behind, I think, won't it? Let's check
Darren Ball is 2 laps behind the leaders at the moment.
That's a shame for him, really. So here they come.
In comes the 33 car, in comes the 7 car, so as predicted by our spies in the pit lane, those both coming in. So too is the car that started, an hour later or something, wasn't it? Or best part of an hour late. That's the number 32 car of Leon Bidgeway and Alan Henderson, which is it's held. It's sort of 24 laps down, which it was at the start of the race.
Notice the Civic that was doing well earlier, Hobson and Vorden have also been in, so they may benefit from this safety car period too. Hopefully everything might be a bit more simple now for the last hour if everybody gets their pit stop out of the way. Now there's Andy Marston stepping out the Autobahn car. He'll have to get back in. I'm sure he'll be getting some drink of water down there. So the pit lane gets busy once again here at Croft.
Yeah, and we're getting an up close and personal view of the cars that are into the pit lane, ready to make their 3 minute stops. I mean, because it is 3 minutes, it doesn't seem like there's a huge amount of urgency other than to get the fuel in. Otherwise, it's get a driver change in a relatively relaxed fashion if that's what you're going to do. If there is indeed a driver change to do, and otherwise, just make sure everything goes smoothly, and you don't waste a second of the precisely 3 minutes. There is time though for a good old wipe of the windscreen to give Luke Tedakowski, and get him back in that car. I think a clear view for the rest of the race.
So Darren Ball, shame for him, he was just at 2 laps down, wasn't he? Because if he wasn't, this I think would bring him right into play, but I think 2 laps down would be too much to catch under the safety car. Yes. Notice Andrew Lightson and Imran Khan haven't come back in, because they're now 5th overall in their Class C car.
Yeah, and they've got ahead of Steve Cheetham in Class B, so who is in the pit lane and is now going out of the pit lane again, I think. Steve Cheetham has been in.
That could be interesting where he comes out on the overall compared to this. So Mika Brown stayed out as well. That's the other point to mention.
So he's the new leader.
But tactically for the remainder of the race, I'm sure you would want to pit already, I would think.
We're going to get at least one more lap under the safety car. The Alistair Gould car has been rescued. The tyres are in the process of being moved as well down there between Clairvaux and Hawthorns. But I think we'll get probably one more lap under the safety car therefore. So safety car with the Ivan Mayer's car coming into the pit lane behind it now, so that one's coming in. It's the Taylor and Ashmore car that's immediately behind the safety car. At the moment, Darren Ball just behind that, and then Julian McBride just behind that. And those drivers all on different laps.
Second place in Class C in Ben Highland and Phil Ingram. They make their way down the pit lane towards their pit box 2. 74 laps been completed by Micah Brown. So now he's put a lap on the other 2. So not really sure what their strategy is here in the Micah Brown and Chris Brown team, but they're just trying something different and see what happens. Andy Marston has made a better pit stop than TI Motorsport, so Autobarn Motorsport car heads out first. So David Whitmore did all that work to gain the position on the track, and now Luke Sejakowski is going to have to do similar. David Whitmore out the car, Luke Sejakowski in, and he heads off down the pit lane. But there's been quite a few cars between those two M4s now.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple at least, isn't there? As they get back on. There won't be too much time between them by the time they've caught up to the safety car and so on and so forth, but nevertheless, the battle will need to be rejoined between the two M4s, and they'll be behind on track there, of course, the Mickey Brown car, but that does need to make another stop before the end of this race, which is now less than 50 minutes away. Safety car lights are out, which isn't necessarily surprising with all the clearing up having been done. So that's heading through the complex now with the Taylor and Ashmore be able to be compact behind it. Mighty little car, that one. Devon Ball, then Julie McBride, then it's the Seat, the flaming Seat there in 4th place. Then it's the Fiesta 5th in the queue. Race gets back underway then, with 49 minutes of the race left to go. The 5th of the safety car interventions in this race is over, and we are back and running here at Croft Circuit.
So Micah Brown's going to be about 1.5 laps ahead of Andy Marston, or maybe not, about a lap and a third perhaps. So Micah Brown, our leader after 75 laps, and only coming out off the hairpin in 2nd place is Andy Marston, who's actually way ahead of Luke Sejakowski, because Sejakowski hasn't caught up to the train. It's going to be a good gap that Andy Marston's got here, which I suspect is going to become the battle for the win of this race, isn't it, between the two?
I was wondering if Sejakowski actually has pushed on this outlap as much as he could have done, because he's a long way behind the next car in front of him, which has taken the safety car restart.
So we can see the gap as he goes out, 21 seconds, so it's going to be a big ask for Sejakowski to catch this, I should imagine, to Andy Marston. And then Darren Ball is there in 4th place on the same lap as Marston and of Sejakowski, but a bit further behind really. And then in 5th position overall is Imran Khan, leading Class C, but still to make another stop, interestingly. Steve Cheetham, he's done his stops, he leads Class B. I think Brad Evans and Michael Downey have also made their stops. That's the top 3 in Class B. Cheetham, Evans and Downey, all solo drivers in the top 3 positions of Class B.
Just watching Imran Khan, which is well on the shot there, making his way through the complex, out towards the hairpin he goes. That on shot there is the 160 car for Pierce's, I think. Yes, indeed. The FSR liveried car. Comes through and starts another lap here at Croft. So still more than 3/4 of an hour of this race left to go. Darren Ball very sideways there. Now getting the black flag for Hobson and Vaught in the number 34 Civic. That's the car that's running 12th overall and 4th in Class B at the moment. Now that was called out of driving standards flag early on, so we'll see if we can find out exactly what that's for, but that car could be in even as we speak. So number 34 into the pit lane because it's getting the black flag. Let's go down to Andy McEwan once again.
Well, Dave Whitmore then, fresh out of the car after what was a fantastic battle between you and Andy. Yeah. You've lost the lead though again in the pit stops.
Yeah, I just can't believe it. We've just come in there, started the car back up, and an engine management warning light came on. So we had a minute's burst, pit stop perfect, team had done the job. And then the warning light comes up with 10 seconds to go, so I had to stop the car, restart the car, and then it didn't recognise the key, so it won't start. So we're back on the chase, Randy, and I've got no doubt in my mind that Luke will, come in, because we were about 3 seconds a lap quicker. Andy did a really good job of defending all the time, and obviously they're very expensive cars, and I already had an off on testing on Friday, So I thought to myself, right, I'll pick my point. I knew you were weak at this point down here, made me move and got it. But it was exciting for people to watch, so that's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, yeah.
It's been a fantastic battle between the two of you. Luke's, I think, about 20 seconds behind or so.
Yeah.
He's got 50 minutes roughly to catch him. It's going to be close, isn't it?
It's going to be real close. It's going to come right down to wire. It's going to come down to how well we drove the car over the 3 hours. Obviously tyres, brakes, degradation, everything. And it's really, really going to come down to it, because whoever's tyres goes off first is the lad that's going to come in second place. So hopefully, if all goes well, it'll be all right.
Were you managing tyres and brakes in your stint? It didn't look like it.
No, I had to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, but a little bit, when you say managing it, it's not managing it, it's like kind of going in and going, really not wringing its neck, just winding it back to like 98% instead of 100%, knowing that there is 3 hours and then also the team will kill me. So that's a point, yeah.
That's definitely incentive. Well, congratulations. I'll let you get back and watch this thrilling climax to the race. It is going to be so close, this, guys.
Certainly is. So an engine management issue there, just stymieing the chances of the number 33 team, Luke Sedgwickowski and David Whitmore, who we heard from there with Andy McEwan. We'll see if they can bounce back from that. So a reminder that the order is, at the moment, Michael Brown leading in his BMW 4, yet to make a second stop. In second place, number 7, Andy Marston. In third place, oh, what a spinner there for the car that was in 8th place. That is the Will Ashmore and Robert Taylor car. The BMW Compact, the black and red car, has spun, and there are double wave yellows there. It's not moving out of the way terribly quickly, so I'm just wondering if they're having problems getting that car fired up. It's not in a great place, I'm afraid. Half on and half off the edge of the circuit at the complex. And finally, I think a sigh of relief all round there. He does manage to get that car moving again, and hopefully that will be the end of that. I was fearing that we may have another safety car period there, but it's not to be. So just to finish what I was saying then, Darren Ball then in 4th place, number 25, 5th and leading Class C, Imran Khan, 6th and leading Class B, number 43, Steve Cheetham, 7th, number 6, having stopped twice already, Rob Baker brought that car, 8th, number 20, 2nd in Class B, the Mini of Brett Evans, 9th, the car that we've just seen spin, Ashmore and Taylor, and it's a stop and go penalty, as you can see on the inset there, for car 148. That is the Tom Collin Nick Selby car, and also number 20, which is Brett Evans, the man that's in second place in Class B. So they're going to have to call to the pits, and they'll find out as well what their stop go penalty is for, because depending on what it's for, it depends on how long they have to stop before they can go again.
Luke Sedgwickowski's really closing the gap into Andy Marston, isn't he? That was 21 seconds, it's down to 9 already, with what, 3 laps? So Marston perhaps being a bit more cautious in the traffic, but that's meaning the gap's coming right down, and Sedgwickowski into 32s, so pushing on really hard to close him in. So I think we might have another exciting battle between the pair.
It was a slow lap, wasn't it, from Marston last time, a 1:37, but yeah, Sedgwickowski doing the best to recover from the engine management issue that team had during the course of the pit stop. So we'll see what they can do. See the black flag for Tom Collin and Selby, the other car in the penalty, which is just coming in the background there, and the pit lane pit stop penalty there being served by Wilson and Ford.
They were doing well earlier, weren't they? But they've dropped off because of that. So Class B has Cheetham, then Evans has got a penalty. Michael Downey, who will inherit second place in Class B, therefore. So it's been a really strong run from him. And then we haven't got another Class B car until much further back, which actually is Andy Bailey and Luke Slavitz, who are 4th in class. So we're on the screen, in fact, and actually battling with the car behind for what is 4th position in that class, as it gets a bit tight, which is the Lloyd Jones and Lindsay car. So that's the Civic there on shot. That was battling with the Golf for 4th position in Class B. But Bailey and Slavitz had a huge penalty earlier, and they're recovering from it.
Last lap, Sedgwickowski took another couple of seconds out of Andy Marston as well, but Micah Brown has just done the best lap of the race, a 1:30.70. So new fastest lap of the race for the race leader Micah Brown, 1:30.70. So tactic now looks to be just to put as much daylight as he can between himself and the rest, and hope that is anyway good enough when he comes to have his next pit stop, which he will need to do. That lap a bit slower, 1.6 seconds slower in fact, as he came through across the line to complete lap 80.
Okay, So Class C, that's Lightstead and Calm, but they're yet to pit for a second time, aren't they? They're just coming into the complex. Then it's the Kells who are next up, only 5 seconds ahead of Paul Sheard and Steve Dolman, and then there's only a further 10 seconds to Munro and Dougal. So you've got the 3 MX5 sort of 15 seconds apart. It gets very busy down here into the complex, and Luke Sajakowski is one of those. You also see Steve Cheetham in there, the Class B leader. There's Brett Evans, who's got this penalty to serve. They'll both be about to be lapped by Sajakowski. With all this traffic, may the gap have gone up? Yes, it has, by a couple of seconds. But overall, it's come down a lot still since the beginning of the safety car period. Oh, we've got that's the Taylor and Ashmore car that's coming to a halt out the hairpin. The BMW Compact that's running in 9th position overall and 6th in Class A after losing out to the Civic, but it continues.
And doesn't take the option of going into the pits, which you thought it might do, given where it suffered that little drama. Just below us in the commentary box here.
This is the battle for 4th position in Class B, and Andy Bailey loses a position. That's John Barnes now at the wheel of the Toyota MR2 and flying, as you would expect from former British GT champion. He's been lapping in the 37s, which is actually slower than the best lap of the Golf, but consistently quick is John Barnes, and he goes up to 4th in Class B, and the two cars continue to battle behind between the Golf and the Civic. So that is, I think, Andy Bailey at the wheel possibly now of the Golf, and the Lloyd Jones and Lindsay Civic. So good Class B battle.
Just behind Brett Evans, who's second within that class, 8th overall in the Mini. So we are 40 minutes away from the end of this race now, as that battle continues to make its way through the complex and then head off down towards the hairpin once again, with just under 40 minutes of the race left to go now.
Into shot there, that's James Kell, and he's second in Class C, and just 8 seconds, but pulling away, in fact, from the Dolman and Sheard duo. So that's MX5s there, 2nd, 3rd and 4th in class. And the another personal best lap from John Barnes in that MR2, a 137.0. They're 4th in Class B, really pulling away from the Andy Bailey Luke Slovitz car, 3 seconds further ahead of the battle. We continue to watch the Bailey Slovitz ahead of the Lloyd Jones and Lindsay duo, this Golf versus the Civic, and they're desperately trying to unlap themselves from Brett Evans,
who possibly might be getting a penalty. We'll wait and see if we hear any more about that.
We saw the board go out, didn't we? But I don't think we've seen them serve it yet.
No.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a touch there between the Mini and the Golf. So very tight there. 3 different type of saloon cars. They're all front-wheel drive cars: the Volkswagen Golf, the Mini Cooper, and the Honda Civic, all racing within Class B, and they're all about to be lapped by Steve Cheetham.
Yep, as the rain starts to fall again here at Croft. Okay, so we're hearing that the penalty for Brett Evans is because he overtook under the safety car, and he will need to come in to serve that. So another stop that he will need to make.
Very blustery, as you can see on our cameras now. Much heavier wind than we've had so far in this race. So blowing the rain in to Croft Circuit. You see the rain on our camera lenses too. Leader, or the second place battle, leading 2 pit stoppers, completing pit stoppers go through. Gap is just under 8 seconds, so quite even now between Marston and Sajakowski. Still lapping in 1:34s, so lap time is still there. That's the board being shown again to Brett Evans, is it? The black flag, and into the pits comes Brett Evans for that penalty. That's why the board was brought in. So Brett Evans stops, and he's got a timed penalty to serve too, by the looks of things.
Also coming in is the Tom Connor Nick Selby car, this time I think for a stop. Was that for, no, that's for his penalty as well? I thought that's what he did, but mistaken.
Here's Micah Brown coming out of the hairpin. What sort of lap times is he doing now with this rain starting to come down?
5.68 that time through, so that's 5 seconds off his best.
Yes, it certainly looks heavier rain than before. Brett Evans goes. Now, is he still ahead of Michael Downey? We may have not lost a place in the class, actually. So it looks good for second still for Brett Evans. Did he finish well up in 3rd in class last time out at Donington Park too? So in that Mini Cooper, not necessarily the obvious choice of car for this. Brett Evans going really well. It's a really good looking car, that Autobahn Motorsport Mini Cooper 2, I think. Big wheel arches on that one. That always makes cars look more spectacular.
It does. It looks very menacing, doesn't it? It looks like it's going to be quick, and it lives up to that as well, which isn't always the case. 35 minutes left to go with this rain coming down, but actually the sun's coming out as well at the same time, so it's these very changeable conditions that we've had for much of the weekend here at Croft. Will it have a final say, I wonder, in how this race plans out?
The gap came down as they get used to these conditions for second between Marston and Sędziakowski, came down to under 6 seconds on that lap. I notice a change though for fourth in Class B, because Bailey and Slavica got back past the MR2 of Harrison, Buckland and Barnes.
Yeah, that just popped up on the top of the screen as well. So the 95 car made an advance. It was a much slower lap that time for car 19, the MR2. Into the pits comes number 11 then. That is the race leader. That is Micah Brown, as you can see on screen. A couple of cars stopped there. The number 16 car is one of those. That's the Seat Supercar. That was the car that was on fire in the earlier stages. You can also see the number 72 TWP Elise as well. But there is our race leader then, Micah Brown, into the pit. So we think he's going to go to the end of the race now. Pip
Hammond had just done that car's best lap of the race on the previous lap too, a 1:34.42, which is quicker than Steve Cheetham, the Class B leader. So they're really getting that car hooked up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Some encouragement then to take from the weekend as we watch the fuel go into Micah Brown's car, but I suspect that while this is all happening, we'll have a change of leader once again.
But who's going to get into the car, I think, is the bigger question here, isn't it? Will it be Chris or will it be Micah Brown? Gap for what will become the lead is coming down to Andy Marston, only 4 seconds ahead of Luke Sędziakowski now, as they complete their 83rd lap of the race and go ahead of Chris and Micah Brown, who may lose out to Darren Ball too here. The Class C leader is in as well. That's Imran Khan to let Andrew Lightstead take the flag in that. Just watching to see though if Darren Ball may move up onto the podium positions here, who made those early pit stops.
Okay, so the number 34 car on screen now, that's the car that's been, we've seen plenty of. We think that car might be stuck in 4th gear and also have no power steering as well, so that's clearly going to be a setback for the X-Rod and Valley car being driven this weekend by the team of Joe Vorden and Danny Hobson.
They've dropped to 24th place on lapping, about 10 seconds off, and another car pulled off. The attrition suddenly getting bad, and that's a car that set to the fast lap earlier. I don't think it's got it anymore, but that's Liam Bidgeway and Alan Henderson who were going so well. It's accelerating across the line and moving into what I believe will become a podium position. Darren Ball, as the Browns continue to pit in this jackpot race in M4. So Darren Ball up onto the podium here, I think.
So you see the 7th place car now is the Imran Khan Andrew Lightstead car, just gradually tumbling down the order, but I think they've got enough in hand to get in and out for their second mandatory stop and still stay ahead within Class C by my reckoning, in terms of the gap back to the Darren Kell, James Kell, number 68 Mazda.
Andy Marston's gone through again, just 2 seconds ahead of Luke Sędziakowski. The two leaders then heading through the chicane, and the two M4s will soon be back together again, as they have really been for most of this 3-hour race. It's not been too often those two M4s have been apart. They're heading down towards Tower Bend at the moment, just a couple of seconds then between Marston and Sędziakowski. A great race, a great battle it's been between the pair of them.
Yeah, and it looks like it might go right down to the wire here. Half an hour of the race left to go. There is the number 11 car being pushed backwards, and it will then go back into the race. That's the Chris Brown, Mickey Brown car. The question is, who's in the car now? Possibly we'll be able to find out from the team down there. Just looking to see who we could see standing around the car.
That was team boss Nathan Harrison, I think, so who's in the MR2 as well. They're the leaders though, almost together into the complex on this, the 85th lap of Croft Circuit. Just about to lap the Munro and Dougal MX5 that's 4th in Class C. And diving up the inside there is Andy Marston to put the MX-5 between himself and Luke Sedgwickowski. But this gap was 2 seconds at the end of the previous lap. It's not that anymore. It's about 2 car lengths, not much more than that, as they complete the lap then half a second apart as they head up towards Clairvaux. They've got the little Janetta to lap 2 of Ben Highland and Phil Ingram. Up the inside, the pair of them go. The M4 looks massive, doesn't it, compared to the little Janetta there. But through they go then in the top 2, Marston and Sedgwickowski, and it looks like it's going to be very close for 3rd place actually between the Browns and Darren Ball, so we'll watch out for that too. But almost overlapping the top 2 cars as they head down towards Tower Bend. There's still half an hour of this race to go, and Luke Sedgwickowski's trying to get it done straight away. He goes up the inside. Does he go through? No, he doesn't. Andy Marston holds on.
And look who's just ahead of them on the road as well. It's Rob Baker in the Civic, who's not going to be an easy car to lap. That car's still in 6th position after its various dramas, and they're almost going to be overlapping through the Jim Clark S's there. The Civic actually I think is going to get out of the way on this occasion and lets the leaders through. So it is still number 7 Andy Marston that's ahead, number 33 Luke Sedgwickowski in 2nd place. Round Sunny they go on lap 86 of the race, separated by, well, only a matter of inches really as they head back onto this short straight towards the complex.
And it's nose to tail for 3rd place as well, but change for the lead. Andy Marston's car is flashing like it's gone into a limp home mode, and it's been repassed by Rob Baker. What a shame, just as the battle was going on for the lead, it looks like Andy Marston's got a problem. The lights are flashing a bit like when the car goes into a limp home mode, and we'll really see when it comes off the complex how it accelerates off the corner. It's being passed by Class C cars. Andy Marston is for the pit lane. Such a shame, such a good drive from solo driver Andy Marston. That had been his into the pit, so that means this is going to remote the battle for 2nd place at a nose to tail, almost heading down towards Tower Bend between Darren Ball and Micah Brown, or Chris Brown, whoever's in that car at the moment. I guess on lap times we may be able to work it out, but what may become the battle for 2nd place, head down towards the Jim Clark S. It's still in the pits is Andy Marston. Also in the pit lane is Andy McEwan.
Well, I'm here with Micah Brown. We were just speaking off mic and you said you'd be really happy with a podium. Looks like it might now be 2nd place.
Yeah, it's just as we were saying, it looks like the guys that were fighting for the lead came in, so that's looking good. I know it's us, the 3 BMW M4s at the front, so yeah, be very happy with the podium after all this, very happy.
Your stint was a long one, but it was a fast one as well. You were putting in good pace and you were quite happy just to stay out there logging laps.
Yeah, no, I felt really good in the car. The guys at 22 GT have set it up so well. It's absolutely no problems. Going around, tyres fine, pressure fine, brakes fine for, I think I was doing about an hour and a half out of 45, so no problems at all, yeah, really good.
Traffic out there, there are a few fewer cars out there now than there were at the start, but were the ones that are left behaving themselves?
On the whole, everyone's getting out of the way, yeah, they behaved really well. Like I said, the marshal's been fantastic with the blue flags. Had a few hairy spots here and there, just getting a bit impatient, but, you know, that's just racing for you, isn't it? It was all good.
I'll let you get back to it because the number 7 BMW's just rejoined the track. We'll wait and see if you're in 2nd place. We're going to head down to the number 7 pit and see if we can find out what happened.
Yeah, that car back out into the race then, Andy, as you say. As far as 2nd and 3rd is concerned, well, it's Darren Ball that's now getting away from Chris Brown in 3rd position. Those 2 cars heading down the back straight towards Tower. There they are on screen as if on cue, and Darren Ball I think probably able to get away a bit more from Chris. There though is the car of Andy Marston, so what can he do from 4th position as he now finds himself
if that car is back to full song, there's no reason I don't think why he can't catch them. Once again there's problems unfortunately for the Army Motorsport car that seems to keep dying, and then Will Ashmore and Robert Taylor managed to bring it back into life and away they go again.
They're desperate to get to the finish though, and they've got 27 minutes left to go now. Can they manage by fair means or foul to bring that car home in one piece? 27 minutes remaining, as I say. It's the Luke Sedgwickowski car leading by 1 minute and 17 seconds from Darren Ball now, so barring disaster that looks pretty good for victory. We've got the Moss lights. I think they've been flashing the lights of his car since he came out of the pit lane. I think the speed of that car still looks okay though, Josh.
Yeah, the front lights are fine. I think they're the ones we want to look out for. The brakes lights come on and flash, but every light was flashing on it before, which it isn't doing now. And he's starting to catch Chris Brown already as Darren Ball comes through, and Darren Ball's just done his personal best lap of the race, a 1 minute 33.8, pulling away from Chris Brown there in 4th place, but both have been closed in by Andy Marston, who just does his personal best lap of the race straight away out the pit lane.
Interestingly, the news was that the problem with that car was actually a puncture on that car as well, nothing to do with the engine management or anything like that.
But the flashing lights would have been hazard lights warning everybody else,
Yes.
wouldn't it? So
Yeah. Talking of flashing lights, there goes Chris Brown flashing his lights, that anyone will take any notice as he goes through, passing some traffic down into Tower Corner. He's 3.25 seconds behind Darren Ball, and he's now in this position where he wants to try and catch back up with Darren Ball, but he's also conscious, I'm sure, that Andy Marston is bearing down on him on that lap. Marston did his PB, as you say, and it was 2.5 seconds faster than Brown, so give it another lap and Marston will be on Chris Brown for the final podium position.
And he might be able to catch Darren Ball before the end as well. Class C, Andrew Lightson and Imran Khan did come back out in front, so they lead Class C. Second in that class are the Kells. James Kell just does the personal best lap of that car, 1:37.5, pulling away therefore from Steve Dolman and Paul Sheard. Team Munro and Nick Dougal have dropped much further back too there in 4th in class. 5th in Class C is Tom Rogers and John Griffiths, who really lost out because they made that second pit stop under green flag conditions. They're on the screen there just behind Andy Marston, who continues to close in once again on Chris Brown. Across the line they come then, 25 minutes of this race to go, 4 cars still on the lead lap of this race. Tegiwwa 75 seconds ahead of Darren Ball, who's 5 ahead of Chris Brown, and just 2.5 between Brown and Marston, so they certainly should be together before too much longer. The race leader just goes across the line, so he's what, 3/4 of a lap ahead of the others. Out of the chicane then comes Chris Brown there. Now Andy Marston's got a lap Julian McBride first, or Julian McBride and Jeff Steele car that's running in something like 7th place in Class A, and he gets out of the way. He's many laps down after that early problem, which they managed to get fixed, the Jeff Steele team. So there's the gap then, 3rd to 4th. Chris Brown to Andy Marston, 3rd to 4th.
Yeah, that is one of the things to keep an eye on then in the next 20 minutes or so. There is the 11 car of Chris Brown, and yeah, that gap coming down hand over fist, as you can see. Julian McBride just behind them on as well as thinking, then on 50 car. Down towards the complex now, there's green flags on the exit of Sunny, so something has gone off on the way in, possibly. What car is that? Is that Darren Ball's car? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it is Darren Ball's car that's been off at Sunny. We can just see it rejoining on the right hand side of our picture. So the man that was in 2nd place has thrown that away, it would seem, and has gone down to, what would that be, 4th position, as we've got this battle on screen now. This is therefore the fight for 2nd place between Chris Brown and Andy Marston.
So it's back to 3 M4s within the top 3. So Hawthorns, the cars turning Andy Marston also almost alongside the Brown Jackpot Racing car. Couldn't quite do it though. So on the run up towards Tower, can Andy Marston in the Autobahn car find a way past here? He's looking up the inside, onto the brakes they go, and Chris Brown cuts across the front of Andy Marston. So Marston doesn't go past at that part of the circuit. Darren Ball's 18 seconds behind. Now if Chris Brown can hold Andy Marston at bay here, Darren Ball might be able to do something to close that gap in, potentially. We shall see. But again, Marston, he's looking very racy indeed, looks up the inside. Chris Brown isn't going to let him have that, but he drifts out wide, and this time I think it's going to be inevitable that Marston goes through, but he might not. They're side by side still as they come up to the complex. Very little between the two cars. Round the outside attempts Marston. It's a difficult place to get that done, especially in big cars, as these M4s are, but he's got the inside line for the right-hander, and that means he should go through, but the inside line therefore for the hairpin for Chris Brown means he can re-challenge. The two cars are level as they come off the corner, accelerate up towards the Clairvaux corner. The BMW Motorsport built car for Brown, the Autobahn Motorsport built car for Marston that's on the inside line, does make it work, goes through into 2nd place. So Andy Marston back into 2nd, But really, Ian, we've been robbed of a battle for a race win that we were looking forward to between Andy Marston and Luke Sedgwickowski after that puncture.
On the insert you can see the number 34 car, the Civic that was in strife earlier on, as we mentioned. Across the line has just gone Luke Sedgwickowski, a gear gain to complete lap number 91. Last couple of laps have been a bit slower, 137s, 135s than the cars behind him, so I think everything's okay with Luke Sedgwickowski's car, but we just need to keep an eye on that to make sure there's no problem developing with it for the final ninth of this race. 20 minutes left to go, down to the length of a sprint race. I don't sense that we're going to have any particular drama within the classes either, at least in terms of the win is concerned, unless either of Steve Cheatham or Andrew Lightstone in the rank car, I'm not quite sure who's the winner of that car at the moment, have problems. They should both take their respective classes, I think, but strange things have happened in the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship in the past, haven't they, Josh?
in all sorts of endurance racing. Of course, it was only a couple of years ago at Le Mans where Toyota looked all set for the win, where they broke down on the final lap of the race. So certainly at club level, we don't want to rule anything out. That car with the gearbox problem back into the pits, the Danny Hobson DH Racing car, and they push start it. Therefore, to send it back out with 20 minutes of the race to go. It looks like that car's had an off as well, doesn't it? With the remnants of what it went over on the pit lane there.
Doubles his combine harvesting by the looks of it, doesn't it? 20 minutes to go.
There's first and second in Class C, but they're not on the same lap. Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan's BMW ahead of the Kells Mazda. So 88 laps for the BMW and 87 for the Mazda. So it's one lap that's between those two in Class C. The Kells are now 40 seconds ahead of Dolman and Sheard, so they're dropping away. In third in Class C. Second and third in Class B is not too large of a gap, is it? 23 seconds Brett Evans to Michael Downey, but I think Brett Evans should be okay there. It's closer for fourth in that class, though, because Andy Bailey and Luke Slavic's only 3 seconds ahead of the MR2, the Harrison Buckland and Barnes car. So fourth and fifth in Class B could still change in the final moments of this race.
Yeah, it's been an interesting race as ever in the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship, full of drama and unexpected turns. I guess the most recent of those, as far as the podium positions have been concerned, is that Darren Ball up at Surrey. He's got one into the pit lane. That's 73 car Monroe and Dougal.
Yes, that's fourth in Class C, so a pretty important position there. One of the Together We Progress racing Mazdas, so that may well promote Tom Rogers and John Griffiths in their Clio up into fourth, who are actually on the circuit with the third place car, the Dolman and Sheard car, just behind them. And is that Mazda going to the garage, or is it just stopping in front of it? Hard to tell from here. We might get a view of that on the screens shortly. We're just watching Andy Marston, who's only 1.5 seconds ahead of Chris Brown. He's not dropped too far away. As you say, Luke Sedgwickowski, his pace is slower than it was earlier, but I suspect that's just managing to the flag now, you would think. That means the gap has come down first to second to less than 70 seconds. To that man there, number 7, Autobahn Motorsport's Andy Marston, who's about to lap actually our Class C leader, Andrew Lightstead. They're just ahead of him as they turn their way through Sunny Out and up towards the complex once more in this race. The 93rd lap is about completed by Andy Marston and Chris Brown. Luke Sedgwickowski's already done that, so we see the Munro and Dougal car still in the pit, so that means up to fourth in Class C comes Rogers and Griffiths, fifth for Highland and England, sixth for Mayors and Waters, so quickly dropping back is Munro and Dougal because of this unexpected pit stop. See, Darren Ball's car's got a bit of damage. I wonder if that's part of the reason when he had that off up at Sunny when he was in second place, a bit of damage to the front left-hand corner on Darren Ball's BMW there that sits in fourth place. He hasn't really closed in at all on Chris Brown, has he? So that doesn't look to be anything that may change.
As far as I can work out, fastest laps Obviously, Micah Brown, fastest lap overall at 1:30.70. We think it was Pip Hammond in the Lotus, fastest lap in Class B. Of course, that car retires a little bit earlier on. That did a 1:34.42 just before it expired. And in Class C, I think the fastest lap was set by the Ginetta in 18th place, Valerie 40. The Highlands and England Ginetta did 1:36.37 in the earlier part of the race. About lap 65. We're now on to lap 95 of the race.
I imagine Pip Hammond would be very encouraged by that, trying to see that the pace now, the car would appear to have. There is our Class B leader, in fact, Steve Cheetham, who's in 5th position overall, just turning his way left through the hairpin there at the completion of another lap for that Porsche Boxster that was a class winner last time out at Donington Park 2 for Steve Cheetham in the Locost Racing car. Turns his way onto Clairvaux. He finished 3rd in the class in the championship last year and was a multiple podium finisher but never won the class last year, and he's hoping here for a second dose of Class B victory in the final 15 minutes of this race. Second in that class, Brett Evans, is actually being closed in by Michael Downey, who's been going really strongly in his Porsche. 18 seconds, second to third in Class B. A bit of a gap back to the rest. Bailey and Slavic 4th, just ahead though of Harrison, Buckland and Barnes. It's 1.6 seconds between 4th and 5th in Class B.
Of course, if it finishes this way, we'll have the same set of class winners, won't we, as we did at Donington Park. And on this occasion, as things stand, I don't think any of them will get the fastest lap bonus points, which would leave Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan leading the championship after round 2, because they did pick up the fastest lap bonus point within Class C at Donington Park. But still 15 minutes to go, it could all change.
Impressed here with Chris Brown, because he didn't have huge amounts of pace in that first stint he did, but he's keeping up with Andy Marston, isn't he, this time? The car's just coming down into the complex. 1.1 seconds at the beginning of the lap, a bit of traffic there for Andy Marston, and therefore Chris Brown not far away. So I guess we really shouldn't discount out a change again for second position, because Chris Brown is staying roughly with Andy Marston as they turn their way through towards the end of the lap. But what is now a Sunnycroft once again as they cross the line then to complete the lap. 1.1 seconds was the gap between the two of them, and I think it stayed fairly similar, but there's traffic into Clairvaux, which means Chris Brown is almost on the tail of Andy Marston now, just lapping the Sayat Leon Euro Cup car of Malcolm Cleland and Mark Jones, the final Sayat Euro Cup car before Sayat Sport decided to move their attention to TCR cars.
You mentioned it's sunny, just looking at where the weather's been coming from. I think, touch wood, we should be good now until the end of the race. I don't think, he said, doing his Michael Fisher impression, we'll have any more rain before the end of the race, just to throw a last minute spanner in the works.
Michael Downey's got that gap in Class B to Brett Evans down to 15 seconds now. That was over 20 earlier on in this stint, since Brett Evans had that latest penalty. Michael Downey in the Porsche Boxster this year. Only started racing last season in Club Enduro. He was in the BMW Compact in Class C, then moved up a class for this season. He was only 12th at Donington in Class B, so going great guns up there in 3rd position and chasing down Brett Evans for 2nd position in class. But ahead of both of them is Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan, who I don't think, so that second stop they didn't make under the safety car, did they? So probably lost a bit of time there. And if they were in a higher class, there they are, the Class C leaders. If they were in Class B, they would have been in 2nd place. They're 7th overall. They finished in that place, I think, at Donington Park as well, winning the class. And finished 9th at Donington, so a couple of places further up here. The two Classic Stock Hatch graduates going very well again into the final stages. I'm trying to remember if they didn't lead the first stint, did they?
No.
Lee Piercy, who was going well in that in their family car, led then. But I think since they got the lead, they haven't looked back and have headed the way since. So Andrew Lightson, I think that is, aboard the car now. Wimron Khan doing the middle stint. Accelerating their way down towards Tower, leading just by just over a lap, because you can see the Kells not too far behind, who are second in the class in their Mazda.
It's good to see the likes of Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan in this 330 Challenge car, as was from last season, effectively progressing within the club. So they've raced different cars in different categories. Both of them raced Fiestas in Classic Stock Hatch several years ago. But they've decided to continue racing within the 750 Motor Club in Club Enduro, and it's great actually to see a number of drivers doing that, as well as Club Enduro attracting some completely new members to the club as well, who haven't raced with 750 Motor Club before.
A slower lap from Brett Evans means that Michael Downey's only 5 seconds behind him, and also noticing for that's for second and third in Class B, and for fourth and fifth, Andy Bailey and Luke Slavic's Golf. He's only just ahead of Nathan Harrison, Martin Buckland, John Barnes' MR2, but that Mini just being part. Here we go, you see it on the screen. The Golf ahead of the MR2. That's fourth and fifth in Class B. They've just both unlapped Brett Evans, who's being closed in on by Michael Downey's Porsche. So what you see on the screen there, the 5th place car in Class B. We believe that John Barnes at the wheel now of that 22 GT racing car. Nathan Harrison and Martin Buckland, the other drivers there. Martin Buckland, who runs the 22 GT squad. Martin Buckland, the former Sports Specials class champion. John Barnes, British GT champion, multiple Caterham champion, former Palmer Audi champion too. So massively experienced. He's getting the car a bit sideways there too, as he chases down that Volkswagen Golf of Luke Slavitz and of Andy Bailey. Of course, they were the Class A champions of Club Enduro last year, so moving down a class, driving in a different car, trying out a bit of different competition too. There's Michael Downey though in the Porsche Boxster. He's third in Class B, and he's closing in on Brett Evans. Michael Downey, well, all top 3 in Class B, all solo drivers, Steve Cheetham, Brett Evans and Michael Downey. But let's see what Downey can do about Evans for second in the class. It was 5.8 seconds at the end of the previous lap. It comes down to 3.6 seconds. So watch out that battle between the Mini and the Porsche, as well as the battle we're watching on the screen between the Volkswagen and the Toyota. So Class B can certainly have some changes here in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, all quite dramatic. I mean, Steve Cheetham well clear in this class in his Boxster. Don't forget, the class is based on power to weight ratio rather than anything else. Down into the Tower corner goes that battle. There you can see the Barnes driven MR2 just behind the Golf. So that is for 14th and 15th, 4th and 5th within the class. And just behind them on the road was the Evans and Downey car, which is actually ahead of them, 8th and 9th. They're 4 laps behind the leader. The battle for 14th, 15th, 5 laps behind the leader. You can see that Tom Rogers, John Griffith's car that is 1, 2, 3, 4th in Class C at the moment. So I think they'll be fairly happy with that outturn. I think up to 2nd place before the final round of pit stops within that class.
Just turning onto the complex now, that battle for second in Class B between Evans and Downey. Michael Downey's just lapped family relation David in his Class C compact. There's our Class B leader, in fact, Steve Cheetham. He turns his way onto the complex and dominating Class B much like he did at Donington Park. He's actually the best part of 3 laps ahead of the rest, which is quite remarkable. Good strategy to get there too, because as you said, he didn't get fastest lap at Donington. He's not got fastest lap currently here either, so just good consistent pace, good strategy throughout the distance too. Looking down at Tower Bend, 4th and 5th in Class B are absolutely together now, because the Golf has been caught by the MR2 once again, and also heading down there the 2nd and 3rd place cars in that category getting closer together, because Brett Evans now only 2.5 seconds ahead of Michael Downey. Just 7 minutes to go, so there's still time here for Downey to close him in. There's Cheetham on your screen. He's the class leader, but it's all about the battles behind him in that category, Class B. So it's the 43 Porsche of Cheetham that leads the class at 2nd, number 20 Mini, 76 Porsche 3rd, 4th is number 95 the Volkswagen and number 19, the Toyota. That's the top 5 in Class B. It's the 4th and 5th place cars in that class that arrived by us first, with still Bailey and Slavitz ahead of the MR2. I guess the more important battle is for second in the category, and they're almost together now. Brett Evans has almost been caught by Michael Downey, as the 4th place battle are nose to tail as they cross the line. So, and we can see that on the screens now. So this is for 4th position in Class B. The Toyota's just done its personal best lap of the race, quarter of a second ahead into the Clairvaux corner they go in. Now the next cars that come into your shot will be second, not quite the next car. Now the next car will be for second place. There's Brett Evans, and right behind him is Michael Downey. So the Mini, the Autobahn Motorsport car of Brett Evans, now only 1.1 seconds ahead of Michael Downey in that Porsche. There's the 4th and 5th place battle in Class B nose to tail. It's hard to know which one to watch, Ian.
Absolutely. So there is the Golf. There is the MR2. A bit further back. There we go. There is the Brett Evans car with the now the Class A battle getting in amongst it. The Class A second place battle in amongst it as well. 100 laps now completed by the race leader, by the way, Luke Sedgwickowski, and indeed all of the top 4 drivers, the top 4 teams. So I wonder whether we get to the century, and we certainly have done. Is the compact that's been in a bit of strife, and I think he's still in a bit of strife all race, but it's about to be passed there. It would be passed possibly by the Class C leading Lightstead Kahn BMW 330, but it gets back up to speed as it makes its way down the pit straight. We can see out of our window that it's still Bailey Slavitz Golf ahead of the Barnes MR2. What's going on as far as the battle for second within the class is concerned? Well, it's got a little bit more spread out here, possibly by the intervention of the Class A cars that are coming through now.
Yeah, they're still not far apart, are they? Marston and Brown. They're just a second apart, and now Evans and Downey are closer together again. There is our 5th place car in Class B, the free driver squad of Buckland, Harrison and Barnes. We're waiting for this second place battle to come through in the category. They're only 1 second apart. There's Brett Evans, there's Michael Downey. So it's going to come right down to the last lap in this battle. The Mini Cooper ahead of the Porsche Boxster. There's the battle for 4th position in the class. Again, John Barnes trying to get past Bailey and Slavitz and still cannot do it. And just looking over the other side there, Rob Baker's car looked quite slow in a straight line. It's a bit off pace, isn't it?
It is.
39s, but they're in 5th in Class A, so that's fine. They were 5th as well, actually, at Donington Park. Classified. There's our into the S's, the battle for second place in Class B. We continue to watch that battle because it may well change before the end, which is for 8th and 9th overall. Brett Evans ahead of Michael Downey. Let's watch them coming out of Sunny. They've just been lapped by them Class A cars. It's still Evans ahead. There's now Rob Baker between them, and they're actually getting past Rob Baker, so Rob Baker really is in trouble now as they turn their way into the complex here. The Mini and the Porsche. Mini, a much taller car, a shorter car too than the Porsche that's chasing him up towards the hairpin with just 3 minutes of this race to go. They turn left then and will complete another lap of this race and make their way up towards Clairvaux. To me, it looks like Michael Downey hasn't just quite got close enough to sort of put on a challenge as Brett Evans does his personal best lap of the race at 1:36.7.
That's a very good piece of timing, isn't it? Really good time to do your best lap of the race when you've got your rival bearing down on you for second position in the form of Michael Downey's Porsche. But I don't think it's race over yet, is it, for those two? We've got the Clio between them at the moment, the Class C car, as they make their way down the straight. We're watching the battle a little bit further up the road, which is already turning its way up towards Barcroft, but 2 minutes to go. There you can see the number 11 car coming into the back of the shot. That's the 3rd place car of Chris Brown, and then here is that battle for second place within the class between Evans and Denner, and that gap has come down again, I reckon, from 1.2 seconds at the start of the lap, Josh.
Definitely great to see the battles going right to the end of this race. There is that battle for 4th in the class. I think they're lapping quicker than the battle for second in the class, aren't they? Because they're pulling away from them on the road.
Yeah, the 135s for the battle for fourth, 136 is for the battle for second, which is back on screen now, heading down towards the complex. Let's see if Michael Downey can do anything about Brett Evans. So it's the Porsche and the Mini doing battle, and it's definitely closer than the 1.2 seconds that it was at the start of the lap. Meanwhile, it goes side by side in the battle for fourth place as well as they head down towards Clervaux Corner. I can see out of my window, I think it looks like it's the Golf that's going to hold on. Yes, it is, just from the MR2, but now heading over the line is the battle for second place as well, and the gap between those two cars, which was 1.2 seconds, is now 0.4.
And Michael Downey looks up the inside of Brett Evans there, but he can't quite go through. So then those cars are heading up to Hawthorns as the battle for fourth place are heading down towards Tower, and John Barnes right in the slipstream of the Golf here might be able to go through. He's trying to go around the outside, and he can't quite manage it. I get distracted as cars go almost forward breast across the line, but that didn't do anything. And Michael Downey's got a good run here on Brett Evans. You're going to see the two cars appear on your shot now. They are overlapping, are they, as Michael Downey looks to the outside. Is he going to get past Brett Evans here as we go into the final seconds of this race as well? And Downey's trying ever so hard to get alongside Brett Evans, just can't quite do it on the run up towards the Jim Clark S's.
The leader, Luke Sejikowski, has just started his final lap of the race there, the 105th and final lap of the race, so just over a lap to go for these Class B battles for position that we've been talking about. The battle for fourth is just coming into the complex now, and just about to go to the back of the shot that you've just seen was the battle for second place as well, but it's still the Golf ahead of the MR2, so it's sort of two different types of car battling with each other in the battle for fourth and the battle for second. There is the battle for second place. Downey, it looks on this shot as if he's alongside, but I don't think he actually is. No, he's not quite, as they come into the complex, so it's still the Mini holding sway over Michael Downey in his second season of racing then in that Porsche boxed up. Out of the complex they come, down towards the hairpin for the penultimate time. Has a look at the inside there. Can he make it through? No, he can't. And so he will go on to the final lap of the race with his chances running out of getting P2 in Class B.
Very shortly we're going to get our race winner through, are we not? The Luke Sejikowski. There we go, through Stunny out. So Luke Sejikowski, who did the start, he did the end. It's David Whitmore that did the middle, but the TI Motorsport team that built this BMW M4 for this season, for this championship, are looking to make it 2 out of 2. But this time it was from pole position. They had to work hard to get this, and great battles in the middle, Ian, but it looks good as they turn through the final corner.
Yeah, out of the hairpin then comes Luke Sejikowski. Checkered flag is made ready, and Luke Sejikowski and David Whitmore win again in the TEGIWA Club Enduros Championship, 2 from 2 in the opening 2 events of the season for the TI Motorsport team. An excellent performance from them. Let's just look what's happening there in these battles down the order. A big moment there for John Barnes as he was really pushing hard, trying to get the place away from the car ahead of him. That was the Golf, and here's the battle for second place within Class B. Over the line, well, not over the line yet, just heading through Barcroft, trying to keep an eye on what is going over the line as well. And it looks like, is the Mini going to be able to hold on possibly? Up towards Sunny they go for the final time. We're watching now the cars heading through the complex, or we were, as it's almost side by side for second place within Class B, down towards the complex. Can the Porsche go all the way around the outside, love the inside line for the next part of the corner, but no, he's not quite made that work, as our seventh place man has gone through. That's Andy Marston. Third place man has gone through. That is Chris Brown. And it's another last lunge at the final corner. He nearly outbrakes himself, does the number 76 car of Michael Downey, but I think the Mini is going to hold on to P2 in class all the way to the flag. So, just to sort that out then, it's Sejikowski and Whitmore that win, Marston second, the Browns in third. We've yet to have our Class B winner through. We have had our Class C winner through in the shape of Andrew Lightside and Imran Khan. Our Class B winner crosses the line now, I can tell you. That's Steve Cheetham, number 43. So it's happened. All 3 class winners from Donington Park, Josh, have won again at Croft. What money would you have put on that?
Well, they looked dominant, all 3 of them, didn't they, at Donington Park? However, this time, Sejikowski and Whitmore really had to work for that with the 2 other M4s, really battling hard. We saw really strong pace from the Lotus cars as well here. We just didn't have the reliability for 3 hours, but we head to Spa-Francorchamps next, which I guess the BMWs will be stronger at too because of the power there. But let's have a look at the results here.
Yeah, so Luke Sejikowski and David Whitmore taking the win by 48 seconds at the end from Chris Brown and Mika Brown. Darren Ball it was in 4th place. Steve Cheetham winning Class B in 5th. The Swifton Baker at Honda Civic, despite various travails and an off, was in 6th place. Looking further back down the order, there you can see how the battle of 4th and 5th was resolved in Class B. The Bailey Schlevitz Golf getting ahead of the Harrison Buckland and Barnes at MR2. Further down the order you can see Dolman and Sherd 14th overall, and a good position for them in Class C. Ben Highlands and Phil Ingram in 17th. They did get the fastest lap within Class C. Tom Connor and Nick Selby had a bit of a checkered race. Their pace was better than 22nd position overall. 8 laps down might have suggested, with Kevin Glover and right just behind them Danny Hobson and Joe Vorden. They had a pretty busy race in 24th position overall in car number 34. And then we get towards some of the cars that didn't make it to the end. As you can see, a lot of laps down, they didn't get to the end. So it was about a quarter of the field that, well, really didn't even get halfway through this race. So that is it. The garland is presented to Luke Sedgwickowski, and he is going to have a word with Andy McEwan.
Well, Luke Sedgwickowski delighted with that result, and quite rightly so. What a race it was. Luke, let's grab a word with you. Congratulations, mate. That was hard work, but 2 race victories at the start of the season, a perfect start.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like, you couldn't write it. Obviously, Dave had a big off on Friday, which we were all a bit concerned about how it would play out, but knew that to make a happy ending, we'd get the win, and obviously it came through. So yeah, absolutely amazing.
It's been such a great battle all afternoon between particularly the 3 M4s at the front of the field. Because the cars are so similar, no mistakes can be afforded, can they?
No, that's exactly right, and it's almost back to the kind of M3 Cup days when it's one make series, because neither car's got an advantage at different areas, so you've literally got to outdrive each other.
Having said that you couldn't afford any issues, you did have a couple of issues, didn't you? You had a penalty along the way and you fought back magnificently.
Yeah, we managed to pick up a penalty, sadly, but like you say, finished the race a good chunk ahead of everyone, and at the end of the race it was just a case of cruising around and making sure that we got home.
Well, let's bring Dave in, your co-driver then, Dave Whitmore, who did his fair share of the driving duties in that race and gets his winner's garland as well. Dave, congratulations. A dream start to the season. That's what Luke was just saying. Things really couldn't have gone much better, could they?
They couldn't. And like I was saying to you before, this weekend's been a tough one, hasn't it? You know, like the team have been amazing. Motion Motorsport again, TI, TEGIWA, the whole thing. We had an incident on Friday. We were a bit down our luck, you know, like we went off into tyre wall, it needed some extensive repairs, and we didn't know what the crack was. And then we lost all the day testing. So to get back out today, have the result that we got, dream start, and we couldn't ask for anything more, really. Yeah.
Your thoughts for the rest of the season is what I was going to say, because now, really, you know, with these 2 victories, you've got to defend this lead now, haven't you? But there's still 6 races to go.
I think it's, yeah, definitely, and I think it's about not being expecting too much or ever having the attitude to, yeah, we're going to go there and do well. It's all about doing what we're doing each time, respecting every other driver and team around us, and enjoying it most of all, yeah, and getting stuck in and having exciting races like that. So, yeah, that's what it's all about.
Well, we've enjoyed the racing today. Congratulations to the pair of you. Double victors at the start of the season. Now, Steve Cheetham should be around here somewhere, who is our Class B winner, excuse me. Excuse me, beg your pardon. The winner's garland then for you as well. There we go. Class C winners this is then Andrew and Imran. I'll start with you, Imran. A great result for you there. Class C is a hard-fought class, isn't it? So to come out on top must feel really good.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Andy had a load of safety cars in his stint, but I had quite a clean run, and I was just hammering the laps in, and I didn't really know. Well, I think I was first, but I was just kept putting the laps in because you never know what's going to happen during a race. So yeah, worked out well in the end. Pulled a big lead and kept it.
You're a bit of a 750 Motor Club veteran these days, aren't you? What's attracted you to this championship?
Low cost is always a good thing. It's got a really friendly paddock, especially where I started in Classic Stock Hatch. Really enjoyed that series. I'll be doing a couple of races this year as well in that. Yeah, just like the variety of cars, and yeah, a good crowd.
And great racing as well. Let's bring in Andrew then, who was also a busy boy in that race as well. Championship-wise, this is good, isn't it? It's a good time of the year to be winning early on, and now you can try and keep this up for the rest of the year.
Yes, absolutely. I was getting a bit panicky at the end there, though. My fuel light was on from about the last 15 minutes to go. I didn't really know who was behind me, because I knew when we had our final pit stop, we had about a minute in hand, probably. And then following on from that, I was just driving it home as steadily as I could, keeping whoever I thought was competition back behind us. So much so, I think I probably overly blocked the guy in the Ginetta on the last lap there. I didn't know if I was racing him or not, to be honest. So, yeah, I think we crossed the line in front of him by about 0.1 seconds. So if it had been for the win, then that would have been worth it. It turns out it wasn't.
That was going to be my next question, actually. How aware are you of the situation within your class whilst you're in the heated battle out there midway through a stint?
I'd say medium. We don't have a radio, which doesn't help. We've got a marker board and a pen and the live timing. But yeah, we've managed so far. Obviously, we've won the first 2 rounds, so what can I say? Unfortunately, we didn't get the fastest lap this time. I don't think it was a good second ahead of us in one of the Ginettas. I saw that, so I didn't even try, knowing I've nearly run out of fuel.
Good point. Well, congratulations, the pair of you, on the Class C win. Now we can bring Steve Cheetham in then. The Class B victor gets his winner's garland as well. Now, Steve, you've been in that car for 3 hours. You've had sun, you've had rain, you've had safety cars, you've had lots of great racing as well, and you look fresh as a daisy.
I don't think so. I certainly don't feel fresh as a daisy, no. It's a bumpy circuit round here, and the last half an hour, every bump hurt, so it was just a matter of bringing it home then for the last half an hour.
It's the fan club, I think, isn't it, that's given you the extra few tenths of a second advantage this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. They always spur me on. We've got a good team around us, and without that, we wouldn't be where we are. So.
The car always seems to be, I'm probably jinxing it now, but it always seems to be fairly bulletproof, doesn't it, as well? This thing is prepared well to a high standard, and that really counts in 3-hour races.
We've had the car for quite a while. We've put a lot of development into it, but, really since Donington, there was so much wrong with it. Even though we won at Donington, we took the car apart, we've had the gearbox out, the gear engine out, we've had all sorts. So we put a lot of hours into it in the workshop, and it's paid off.
Your thoughts for the rest of the season then? A bit like the other 2 class winners, it's 2 wins at the start of the year, which means the standard is set pretty high.
I'm just really happy there's no more 3-hour races.
I bet you are. Doing that on your own must really take an out. Well, congratulations to our class winners then. Class C goes to Andrew Lightstead and Imran Carr. Steve Cheetham wins in Class B, and Luke Sedgwickowski and Dave Whitmore, double winners outright and in Class A at the start of what is going to be a fantastic season of TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship racing. Packed grids, great racing. Today has had it all. Our thanks to the 750 Motor Club, who once again have put on a great show. The various championships that have been here this weekend have proven just how exciting club level motorsport can be in the UK. We hope that you will join us for our next live TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship race in a few weeks' time. For now, though, from myself, Andy McEwan, Ian Sowman and Josh Barrett up in the commentary box, it is goodbye.